Hey guys, Joel here. A lot of the discussion on this channel so far has been pretty centered around a more emotional, personal, scrappy side of filmmaking. And while that is kind of my favorite side, that's my happy place, it's what I feel like I could talk the most about. There's the side of filmmaking that is pure entertainment, and there's value there as well. And I'm sort of a two-track kind of guy. I either want a movie to connect with me emotionally in some compelling personal way, or I just want a movie to like make me laugh. And those are kind of my two tracks. And it's like, depending on the mood I'm in, I'm like, am I turning on a movie to laugh, or am I hoping this movie's gonna really connect with me? And I have a lot of movies that really make me laugh, and some of my favorites are the Zucker-Abrams spoofs. I love the Naked Gun trilogy. I love Top Secret. Those two are just amazing. Airplane, I think, is a little overrated. I like Airplane, but it doesn't make me laugh nearly as much as like the Naked Gun. Like the Naked Gun is just top to bottom Leslie Nielsen, and he's the funniest guy who ever lived. If there's an actor that I wish I could have worked with before he passed away, Leslie Nielsen is the one. And he's just so fucking funny in those. And the TV show Police Squad that came before the movie, just as funny. But Top Secret is kind of their masterpiece, and it might be the least talked about of their spoofs. And it's just so good. It's Val Kilmer and like this espionage like mixed with a dance sing-along kind of. I don't even know how to describe it. It's not worth describing. And Roger Ebert said a funny thing in his review of The Naked Gun. And he said, it's hard to talk about comedies because it's hard to say anything other than whether or not they're funny, you know? Like, otherwise you're just reciting jokes. And that's like a big like problem I have when I watch a really funny comedy with friends. It's just like, yeah, that was funny. Or it's just like we recite a couple of the jokes and it's like, oh, it was funnier when you watched it anyways. So that's why I didn't make a video about these yet, because it's just kind of hard to dissect and talk about. But what I do love about these spoof movies that I could go a little deeper into is how they handle humor. I think spoof is pretty clearly a form of a genre, if you will, that has lost its way over the decades. And you know, it wound up with all those epic movie, date movie, vampires suck, all those just like reference heavy, like recognize this famous person is done kind of movies. It kind of lost its way, and these old spoofs were so classy with it. They're still stupid as ever, they're really dumb, but what I mean by that is they never really acknowledge that anything funny is happening. I think that's a great rule of thumb for comedy in general. If you have an absurd thing happening, people need to take it deadly serious. Or if you have a normal thing happening, people take it absurdly. Like it can't be absurd things happening and people reacting absurdly, or else it's just, there's nothing grounding it to reality that can like shift your expectations, because when it's all absurd, you have no expectations. And I just love The Naked Gun, especially because Leslie Nielsen is like the perfect straight man. You know, everything he says, he doesn't at once, you know, occasionally maybe in the third one, which is like not quite as good, but it's still funny. Maybe he gives a dumb face like, oh, what was that? And it kind of kills the joke. It deflates the joke. But 95% of those movies, he's just saying the most absurd stuff, and he's acting the same way he would if he was in a serious detective or cop movie. And that's kind of the key to it, you know. And I think what really works about those movies and Top Secret is it takes a very cliche plot outline and just stuffs it to the brim with jokes and oddities, and but it still plays out like a normal movie in a lot of ways. And those are my happy place. I've seen those too many times to count. I think Top Secret is one of the best comedies ever made. Definitely worth watching. Watch it with some friends. There's so many, the props and the stuff they make and like the sets, they put so much effort into the gags in that movie, and it really shows. It's just on another level from like Airplane and The Naked Gun. Definitely check those out. And then there's some movies that kind of fall in between. They are sort of this happy place, warm comfort movie, but they also connect with me on a deeper level. And a good example of that is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. I really adored those movies growing up, and I didn't revisit them for a long time because I kind of had, I watched a lot of the Marvel movies and kind of got fatigued. And only going back to them do I realize how rich and compelling, but still like entertaining they are. Like every scene feels so human and grounded in a way that like the modern Marvel kind of fails. You really feel for the characters, and there's empathy given to every character on screen. There's no just big bad. There's nobody that's just evil. Like as much as they tried, Thanos at the end of the day was just evil. Yeah, he had a daughter. Yeah, he had his planet destroyed. Yeah, this and that. But at the end of the day, he was a lunatic trying to kill half the universe. And with no consideration for the repercussions. But I really love Sam Raimi's because people talk on end about how expressive and amazing the filmmaking is, and that is true in and of itself. They are so well crafted, so well made. There's so much fun had with the editing and everything. It all plays into this comic book feel. But they go beyond that to be richer and more human films. And I think as the trilogy goes on, they get more and more human. I think the first one is kind of just like a cut and dry, great Spider-Man story. And then the second one comes in and just all the heroics are elevated and all the stakes are elevated. And you're getting a sense for this relationship between MJ and Peter. And Tobey Maguire is just the best freaking Peter Parker there will ever be. Spider-Man No Way Home, I think, was a bit fan servicey. I didn't love it, but God, I would kill for a proper Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4, but I know that it would just be sad. It wouldn't live up. And I already mentioned this on this channel. I adore Spider-Man 3. I think a lot of people act like they like it ironically. All the power to them, but I don't have any irony in me when I say I love it. I think it's genuinely a well-crafted, beautiful movie. The only complaint, the bridge into the third act is very rushed. It just suddenly happens, and then suddenly we're at the climax. But everything else about that movie I think is perfect. I think it has so much to say about relationships and love and how we have to forgive people but not expect forgiveness in return, and how we will often retread our old wounds because it's easier to have a scar where there already is a scar kind of feel. It has so much to say. The scene where Peter's going to propose to her and she's going to break up with him at the restaurant, and there's that tension. That's such a delicately handled scene. It's so well done. And I think it's the best of the trilogy. It's not, and when I say the best, I'm never saying it's the most perfect or the most polished. I just think it's the richest, most interesting. It has the most going on, and I don't think it's overcrowded like a lot of people say it is. I think it has the perfect mix because it is about life pulling you from all these directions, and each villain in the movie is kind of pulling at a different direction. Like one's pulling at like friendship and like trust, and one's pulling at guilt and his old wounds and stuff like that, and the other is Venom is this kind of new competitiveness and greed, and it's just really interesting. And I think a movie like that you can watch as a kid and just kind of appreciate for the spectacle, and then as you get older, your life experience really adds to it. I really think that's a really special kind of entertaining movie. A movie that still entertains, but it has a little more underneath the surface. And I think those are a couple good examples. I'll talk more about movies that make me just feel good and laugh and stuff, because I don't want this channel to be so heady and bogged down in some very specific preferences of mine that it loses sight of some of the simplicity and some of the simple beauty of filmmaking. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope you're doing good. This is Choki. I'm dog sitting for my friend Chad. She laid for the whole video. I'm glad she did. Hi, Choki. I love you guys, and I love movies. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.